Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Today I want to talk about how to treat yourself better, and specifically how to treat yourself better after narcissistic abuse. Now, it is my experience that I did not even know what it was like to treat myself well following narcissistic abuse, and I had to learn what that was like. And a lot of this came from just meeting other people and seeing how they treated themselves and how they took care of themselves. And the first thing that I would say is, number one, to treat yourself well, you've got to learn how to understand why fitness is more important than any kind of fashion or financial stability you may desire. Because when you have fitness, most things will stem from that bottom line. The reason that I know this is because when I was almost 200 pounds, I was very much not fit. And I was very much not having a lot of different things in order. Even though I was aware of many different dynamics that I needed to change, the hardest one for me was just changing my lifestyle as far as eating, and then just making sure I was getting exercise, proper exercise, because I love exercise. I love sports. I love playing sports. Even when I was almost 200 pounds, I would still love to play sports, but I just didn't have the kind of mobility that I would need necessary for it. Number two is to put more effort into your grooming. Now, this was something that I wish I learned more when I was younger. And so we're going to do this right now and talk about, cleaning and making sure that you are well groomed. Specifically for the men out there too, I know a lot of the times making sure you are clean and cleanliness isn't like it isn't our first choice to think about whenever we're attracting more quality things into our life. But the thing is that your grooming will demonstrate how you take care of yourself as a person to the rest of the world, whether you want to or not. And so I actually just got out of the shower now. You can kind of see my wet hair, but the grooming aspect of just taking care of yourself is so important. So just staying up to date on your manscaping, staying up to date on anything that has to do with your facial hair. If you do have facial hair, you don't want... I remember there was a time when I didn't have this beard and I was just shaving. I was just making sure I was clean shaven for that time. And it wasn't until I started to develop the ability to grow a beard, I had to learn about all the different things that go into taking care of a beard. Now, I don't use beard oil as much anymore in my beard just because a lot of the time there are there's just this natural look that I get now where I don't need to use it as often. But still, you got to use different kinds of shampoo for your beard than you do for your hair, because the hair follicles on your face are going to be different than the hair follicles on your head. And making sure that you're wearing deodorant, this should be like common sense stuff. I know, but for a lot of the guys out there, this is not. And even for some of the women that I've met, this is not like a common thing to put on deodorant or to shave your armpits or anything like that. So I understand that some women want to be more of a natural woman with their leg hair and their their underarm hair just hanging out there. I will tell you right now that it is not attractive to most men, and the men that are going to want to put up with that are probably not the men that you want long term. Number 3 is making sure that when you have a quality of something, like if you have you how do I put it? It's like making sure that you have quality over the quantity of average. So growing up, I always had a lot of different things, but they were kind of average. And specifically being raised around narcissistic households, you're not always going to be taking care of the utmost and the proper way all the time. It's just not going to happen. And really, that's just a reality for a lot of different households in general. You know, everybody has their own life and everybody goes through things. And so I don't want to hold anything against anybody, but at the same time, we have to recognize that specifically living in a narcissistic household, you are going to experience a lot of different ways of chaotic communication, no clarity, and you're just going to be accepting of what you get. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be grateful, because, you know, as parents, they do what they can to make sure that their kids are clothed proper, at least like virtuous, proper parents do everything they can to make sure that their child has as quality of a life as they can. But obviously that's not going to happen all the time. One more thing back to grooming real quick. This is something that I wish I knew more when I was younger as well. You've got to use one of those back scrubbers for your back, because a lot of oil will get built up over there on time, and you might not be able to reach all of those areas that you want to reach or you need to reach. Also, I'm just going to say it, you've got to clean your butt crack. You've got to clean that shit out, literally and figuratively. Now, you also can get wipes, specifically for men as well. Like, and women will appreciate you having these wipes too, right? So, there's this really great brand that I got that's for men. I mean, you can really get any kind of wipes, really, but, you know, just making sure that after you wipe with the towel or with the toilet paper, not the towel. Please don't wipe with the towel. That was a mishap on my part, misspeaking. Oh, wipe with the towel. Oh, yikes. Wipe with toilet paper and then clean up with the wet wipe. And anything left over you can get with the toilet paper, and you can use the toilet paper as a towel. That's where I was going with that. So, also nose hairs. Nose hairs is another big thing. Getting your skincare routine on point and plucking your unibrow if you have one. I happen to have a unibrow when I do not pluck it. And my eyebrows are pretty thick. So, yes, I'm going to be plucking eyebrows. And I'm going to be using skincare routines. There's this great option for skincare where you can just, it's simply called washing your face. Whoa, I know. Literally a lot of men don't know this stuff, guys, so that's just where we're at. Let's see here. Okay, so those are the kind of general tips to go through after taking care of yourself and just treating yourself better. Now what I want to talk about and get more into the emotional side of the narcissistic qualities. and how to relearn how to take care of yourself and how to value yourself to be a professional in this life. So you've got to learn how to reconnect with your feelings. And this is something that I do with every single person that I work with in my workshops or any kind of one-on-one consultation that I do. I always make sure one of the first things that we do as a setting of goals is to make sure that they're naming emotions and making sure that they are recognizing them when they happen and being open to those feelings even if they are not pleasant. So as people with narcissistic abuse backgrounds, you're going to experience a lot of the time, you're going to experience a lot of emotional upheaval when you probably least expect it, and you might be triggered in certain ways just by certain things that people are saying, certain things people are doing, etc., etc. So one of the ways that you can relearn how to stay in tune with yourself during these times of emotional fluctuation is by naming your feelings. And that way you get a better control over your feelings as well. Number 2 is being out in nature, specifically for narcissistic abuse. A lot of the times, in my experience, a lot of these people that have experienced narcissistic abuse, nature wasn't really available to them. I don't know if this is a coincidence. I don't know if this is just something like the proclivity of the abuse cycle. But with that being said, just nature wasn't really accessible. And when it was, they almost didn't know how to act in nature. And or they wanted to but didn't know what to do. So being just open to being out in nature and listening to the natural sounds and getting away from like any kind of music that isn't helping your spiritual path, any kind of social media that isn't helping your spiritual path. Like, for example, this video that you guys are watching right now is going to be far better for you educational wise, being protective of your own spirit and your energy wise, and just learning new things about how to take better care of yourself. I mean, that should be the goal in general for humanity, is just how to make things better, right? So, and that always starts with ourselves, because if you don't know how to build yourself up, you're not going to know how to build up a civilization. So how you treat yourself is going to be a direct reflection of how you're going to be able to treat other people. And so if you can't treat yourself with respect, you're not going to know how to treat Mother Nature with respect, and Father Time is going to get to you before you learn. And we don't want that just yet. So one other thing to think about in narcissistic abuse is when you are confronted with situations that you do not want to be in, even if it, like, specifically if they're chaotic and there's not a lot of certainty at all, one thing that you can do is to just take a step back and really try to look at the situation from a logical perspective. Now, this is something that is very hard for a lot of people that are just in the beginning stages of their narcissistic healing process to do. The reason being is because your cognitive functions and your cognitive ability has been attacked and has been designed to attack itself, right, for who knows how long. And so if you actually meet somebody that actually treats you well, it might be kind of confusing to you. You might not know what to do. For example, I remember the first time, and it was over the past year or so, when a woman started to treat me well and just listen to me and to actually willingly submit to me as a man. That was the first time in a long time that that's ever happened. And when this was like, yeah, it was about a year ago, 2 years ago. And so when that happened, I was very confused because for so long I had been around and had been attracting a lot of different kinds of female narcissists or females with a lot of different kinds of disorders, specifically bipolar disorder or narcissistic or borderline personality disorder. And it was because that was just my programming for so long and for so many years that that's just what I was attracting. And it wasn't until I actually healed that I actually saw a beautiful woman being a beautiful woman. And it was just like, wow, a beautiful woman. Fantastic. This is great. But it was almost, it revealed to me that most men, when they actually see a beautiful woman being a beautiful woman, they might not even know what to do or how to react, because they probably haven't come into a lot of contact with them before. And it's kind of the same thing with a masculine man, but for a woman. When a woman that hasn't met a lot of different masculine men in her life, when she finally meets a masculine man, it's like, whoa, this guy is different, but he's not really different. He's just being who he is. And it's the same thing with the woman, being a beautiful woman, a feminine, cooperative woman. She's just being a woman. And the man's just being a man. The thing is that we just live in such a scarce society nowadays of authenticity that is that's like mind-blowing to see somebody with integrity. Like it can be weird sometimes. One other thing that you can do with narcissistic abuse is learn how to actually cook for yourself. And this could actually go into any category of learning how to be better and just learning how to heal from narcissistic abuse. But for me, cooking has become a real art. Cooking has become a real avenue in which I can relinquish a lot of built-up angst. And I'm actually pretty pleased with a lot of the meals that I've been able to make. And I'm finally to the point to where I can make a really nice steak. I've never been able to make a steak in my whole fucking life. But now I can actually make a steak. And I can actually make it, and it can actually taste good. And it's going to be in the iron cast skillet, of course. That's really where I do a lot of my cooking anyway. But just because a lot of the times certain kind of metals or certain kind of plastics can actually decrease your testosterone levels as a man. So I try to stay away from plastic as much as I can whenever I eat anything. I try to use a lot of different, like a lot of silver or cast iron skillet for cooking. And I always make sure I have real plates. I don't use paper or plastic because that decreases the testosterone. So that's another thing for men out there to think about during this time. And even for the ladies, if you want your man to, stay more masculine and be more attracted to him, making sure that you try to get rid of the plastic stuff as much as you can is going to be a great way to do that. So just learning how to prepare a meal for yourself, there's just something really great about that, especially when you can do it from scratch. And there's also, to go back to the steak thing, like I grew up eating like there were not a lot of different options for me, let's just say that. And there were times in my life where I had to go to the food pantry to get my food for the week because I was just so poor. And I don't like using the word poor because that's really a mindset, but I like to use the word broke. And I learned this from Dave Chappelle skit a long time ago. He's like, no, you're not poor, you're broke. And there's a difference. And I've always liked that. And I always like to use that term now whenever I talk about people that don't have a lot of money. Because I was one of those people one time. And I was one of those people that I had to go to the food pantry. And there's no shame in that. There's no shame in that because there are luckily people that are willing to donate for those kinds of people. And being generous to the needy is very important. So making sure that we give back, though, this is one way that I can give back now that I'm not in that place. So I'm very grateful for that time because it taught me a lot about, we actually do need people more than we think. And it's a really important time that you have to do what you have to do sometimes. And this was part of my narcissistic healing journey. When I had to do that, I had to do what I had to do. And I had to make sure that I was doing what I had to do to survive. And this is another thing about narcissistic abuse is that you're stuck in a loop of survival. You're not living a flourished life when you're stuck in a narcissistic abuse mindset. You're not flourishing at all. You're not being the best possible version of yourself. So learning how to take care of yourself in these small ways, even if you go out to eat or something, and you go out to eat and maybe you want pasta, and the chicken on the pasta is like an extra $1 or $2. If you want the chicken, get the chicken. It's an extra $1 or $2. And yeah, you know what? I'm not saying go out to eat to do this specifically, but I'm just saying that making sure that you're treating yourself the way you want to be treated, and then working hard outside of that time to make sure that you're getting the things done that you want to get done, and so that you can provide for yourself in these ways is very important. So if you want to get that extra chicken on that pasta, do it. It's very important for you to think about yourself as someone that is worthy of getting what they want. Because that's a lot of the times in narcissistic abuse relationships, I just didn't think I was worthy of getting what I wanted. And now I'm to the point to where I know I can get my way. And I'm not saying that to be pompous. I'm saying that because I know that I've worked hard to get to where I'm at. And I know that I've worked diligently to receive the things that I've been blessed with. And I thank God for that. So some other things that you can do, some just little side things that you can do is just buy a little bit more high quality shoes or high quality pants or high quality shirts. You don't need name brands per se like Gucci or anything like that or Nike or anything. This is just about you making sure you're treating yourself as someone that is worthy to be treated well. And if you're not in this situation financially to do these kinds of things, then obviously you're going to have to make sacrifices. The whole there's other YouTube channels like Dave Ramsey who talks about the financial side, who I have mixed feelings about, but I think the practical stuff that he talks about is pretty good. But the practical side that he says when you're trying to save money is eating beans and rice. Now that doesn't obviously mean eating only beans and rice. It just means don't go out as much. Try to make your own food more. Don't buy things you don't need with money you don't have. It's these kinds of simple things that really add up to a long-term financial stabilization. And so with that being said, I hope this message was useful and informative on how to make yourself better and how to just treat yourself well, because you do deserve this. And anybody with a kind heart, anybody that truly wants quality in their life, deserves to have those kinds of quality people around them and deserves to have those kinds of quality things. I would hope that we live as luxuriously as we can in this life. But it's up to us on how we get there and the tools that we use to determine our worth. And sometimes that means letting people go. Sometimes that means making sacrifices for things. Sometimes that means not getting that book that you want, or, okay, in my case, it's a book, but so it might be not getting those shoes that you really want. Instead of getting like 3 pairs of shoes for like $20, I'm just saying this right now. I'm just giving an example. 3 shoes for $20, you get 1 shoe for $60. And you make sure that you treat that 1 shoe with respect. You get the toothbrush, you get the you get the shoe shiner, you get anything you need to do to make sure that shoe stays good. And that's really what is going to be reflected into your outer world too. You know, I got these I had these white Vans that I got last year, around this time actually, and they are still white. And it's because I take really good care of them. And I literally take a toothbrush with toothpaste, because you can use toothpaste to kind of get that dirt off. And I scrub it. Every time I wear them, I scrub it. So I'm not saying that you need to do this and you need to get a pair of white Vans. I'm just saying that it's good to take care of things. And whenever anybody's, this was another thing in narcissistic households that I've noticed, is that they say, this is why we can't have nice things. It's like, no, that kind of mindset needs to go bye-bye. It needs to go bye-bye. No, we can't have nice things. And we're going to teach you how to take care of them. And if you are unable to take care of them, then maybe you just don't deserve nice things. It's not that you can't have nice things. It's just that maybe you don't deserve that because you don't know how to take care of it. So, with that being said, I wish you all a really good day and take care of yourself. Till next time, peace be with you.